Good evening. Welcome to the latest episode of the Armchair Pundits podcast. You're here with myself, Bevan, and Monts. Gents, more World Cup, more games. How you feeling about the World Cup so far?
You forgot one thing. Less
What did I
sleep.
forget?
Less sleep. You said more. Less sleep is the one thing you forgot, because
Boy.
since the World Cup started, boy, sleep deprivation has been at its peak.
I hear you. It's been a madness. I almost ended up staying up till 5, but I was kind of watching NBA as well, so that kind of threw me in. It was a madness. So yeah, a little bit tired. Can't lie.
There have been some games that I didn't think was going to, or teams that I didn't think were going to be as good as they are, that have showed up. And there's been teams that I thought should have been better. But I'm sure we're going to talk about that during the pod.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. So I'll give you a quick run through the results that have happened from the game so far. So Scotland got their first World Cup win since 1990 against Haiti with a 1-0 win, a goal from John McGinn, ever present for Scotland and getting the vital goal there. The co-host Canada drew 1-1 with Bosnia. They'll be a little bit disappointed, I'm sure, but a draw is better than a defeat. So they'll have to look to try and win their next game. South Korea beat Czech Republic 2-1. A couple of good goals for South Korea and a really, really good performance in the second half from them. Qatar got a shock draw against the Swiss. The Swiss will be ruining the amount of chances they missed. And Qatar getting a really late goal to equalise and getting their first, I think, point in World Cup history. Australia, probably the other shock result, defeating Turkey 2-0. Brilliant couple of goals for Australia, and Turkey again will also rue chances missed in their game. Brazil drew 1-1 with Morocco. Vinicius Jr. equalising after Sabari's brilliant dink over Alisson. And the other co-host, USA, getting a brilliant start to the World Cup with a 4-1 win over Paraguay. And then today we've had Germany absolutely destroy Curaçao 7-1. So unfortunately for Curaçao, but they made history because they scored their first goal in the World Cup. Yeah. So they'll be proud of themselves despite the end result. And then we've just finished watching the Netherlands-Japan game, and what a game. Probably the best and most entertaining game we've had so far. 2-2. Netherlands going ahead twice and Japan equalising twice. So really, really good games to watch.
You think it's more entertaining than the America game? Or is it because of the late drama?
Yeah, not just late drama. I don't feel like Paraguay made enough of a game with it against USA. Okay. So obviously it was a good result for the USA, but I don't feel like Paraguay gave their best efforts, or play their best game to stay in there really. But we'll start off with the Netherlands-Japan game. Brilliant 2-2 draw. How did you feel like the game went, considering the Netherlands basically led twice and allowed Japan to get back into the game?
It was my dark horse. Japan were, in some instances, they were a bit pragmatic. I think they were a bit like risk adverse until they went behind.
Very.
And then they started playing ball. Then they score a goal. They go behind again, and then they start playing even better than they were playing before, and they nick a goal. I mean, it shows that they can cause an upset because they are a very well-drilled team. They know how they're gonna play. In their friendlies, they've upset a couple of teams, and I think it's funny that they actually score a goal from a corner. With the defensive prowess, the height that Holland have got, the Netherlands have got, and then they managed to score from a corner. But I think that they were worth the draw, to be honest with you. It was there were some good goals that were scored. The who whipped it in for Van Dijk?
Gravenberch.
Bravs. Bravs. The whip he put on that, mad, crazy business. But yeah, I think that Japan were worth the point that they got. I think that Holland have got some good individuals, but I think there's something missing for them to go to be a threat in this competition, in my opinion.
I would have to agree. I feel like they're missing the creative spark. Obviously, Xavi Simon's been injured. You might say he wasn't super fantastic for Spurs this season, but you could see that he was working his way into some kind of form before he got his bad injury. But yeah, they are missing that creative spark. One thing I was disappointed about Japan is that whenever, as you said, whenever they scored, it seemed like they retreated immediately after scoring.
Yeah.
And even at the end of the game, you could see that I think the Netherlands were on the attack. I think Japan managed to win the ball back, and they didn't bother attack after that. They just settled for the final whistle, and I think that's where you refer to their risk averseness. That could end up coming back to bite them, because this was a game that, even though you would say Netherlands obviously led twice and will be disappointed to concede 2 goals, Japan could quite easily have caused more problems if they had played in the same way whenever they went behind. So I think you're onto something there with their sort of pragmatic approach. But I think in the other games they have in their group, they have to go out and win the game for sure.
You know, I agree. I think they got to show more. But it does show, if they do get down and start playing ball and start playing football, then they can cause teams problems. So it's a bit weird that they retreated in the way that they did.
I think Netherlands done the same thing though a little bit. When they went 2-1 up, I feel like it's a little bit naive for them to go and bring on another defender to try and go 5 at the back and do a low block. It was ridiculous. And then obviously Japan, with their attacking prowess, they were taking shots all game, realistically, from distance. Anywhere they could get a shot off, they were taking their opportunity to do so. But when you bring on a 5th defender, you're inviting the pressure, wave after wave of attack. Of course you're going to concede, especially when you're playing against a quality side. And arguably Japan, although I could probably say that I wasn't necessarily considering them to be as one of the real decent underdogs, let's say, for want of a better phrase, they definitely are. They're amongst a bunch of teams now that are going to probably look at this World Cup as anything's possible. And I've said it before outside of the pod, that when you're in a tournament environment, every match is a cup final.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, both teams getting a draw. They'll need to go into their next games with a little bit more of a attacking, I guess, impetus and try and win those games, because, as you say, as much as, you know, the top 2 are guaranteed to go through, you don't know how the other teams in your group may fare, especially if they win, either of those teams get a win on their side. So,
yeah,
see.
They're facing Sweden and Tunisia, innit? And obviously you also got to consider the disciplinary side of things as well, Leon.
Yeah, for sure. There were quite a few yellows there, I think, I think, especially on the Dutch side, I think Van der Ven got a yellow quite late on.
Yeah, and Depay.
Yeah.
So a
So
few of them.
we'll see. All right. Well, moving on. We won't speak too much on this, but Germany absolutely battered Curaçao today. But there was a bit of history, because Curaçao did get their first goal, or first ever goal in the World Cup on their first appearance. From a Germany perspective, Mons, were you impressed? Like, obviously, it's, you know, Giants versus Minnows from a size of the nation perspective and footballing heritage.
Yeah. I was surprised that Germany allowed Curaçao an opportunity to score, if I'm honest. But you know, after Germany got their first goal, it was almost like they were playing with Curaçao. They were just trying things. You know what I mean? Doing little triangles, working in the half spaces, and just kind of overloading Curaçao as and when they could to try and create, you know, camera, what do you call it? Like real camera angles where they can, you know, get like a well-beaten shot off, or, you know, 3 or 4 guys involved in a link up. And I feel like Curaçao kind of sucker punched them and woke them all up. I would say you probably won't see a performance or that many goals from Germany again, like between now and the end of the competition, if I'm honest. But I do see Germany as being a kind of a strong candidate of, you know, they're going to be up there now. People are going to be looking at them and thinking, you know, everyone's got off the mark now. The goals have been spread evenly, and kind of we all know if you've got one focus of goals, teams tend to be a little bit less worried about facing you. But when the goals have been spread the way Germany did it today, everyone's got a pep in their step. So on to the next one, I think, for Germany. They're going to be looking to walk that group and just have their sights on who's next, I guess.
You know what?
Indeed.
You know what? I just to piggyback off that, I saw it a little different because I think that Germany were a bit too easy to be opened up within the first 20 minutes. There was a lot of times when Curaçao were able to get in behind them and they will make it, and there was a lot of silly mistakes that were being made. And if they don't iron those mistakes out, then it could be a problem. They have got attacking prowess and they are good going forward. But if you don't eliminate those mistakes and you have defensive errors, then teams will be able to get at you. And we know that in a World Cup, it's defenses that really win it. You don't really get many teams that just roll teams over like that constantly.
Very true. Very true. All right. Well, let's move on to Group D, which featured the fellow co-host, USA, and they played Paraguay, and they had a brilliant start to the tournament with a 4-1 win. What was your take on the game? How did you feel USA looked with Pochettino in charge?
They look, like I was saying before, golden generation. They look like they got a point to prove. Every single one of them are proud to play for their country, and they left everything out there on the pitch. I didn't look at their team and have any concerns because they all look at it. I think in the warm-up games, I was a little bit concerned about just the way that they were preparing because some of them looked a little bit nervous, but I feel like maybe they were just trying to not get injured in preparation for the World Cup. And I think as the host nation, if you're going to perform like that, you're kind of really releasing all the kind of negative energy and any nervousness or anxiety you may have, and you can go now and approach the rest of the group stages in a little bit more of a comfortable position, if you get what I mean. But Balogun, 2 off the mark. I'm beginning to wish that I chose him to be the Golden Boot, to be honest, because he could have had a hat trick. Yeah,
he could have had a hat trick, to be fair.
He could have had a hat trick, man. He could have had a hat trick. But Paraguay also, for me personally, they were poor.
Very. And I mean, they're defending. They didn't deal with the pressure at all that USA put on them. And in the past, you've always felt like Paraguay were that kind of team that were difficult to break down, but they made it very easy for the USA. And I think, obviously, we know Pochettino likes to play a high pressure style. He likes to have high energetic players to do that work off the ball. But I didn't see a 4-1 win at all. But obviously for USA, it's a great start for them. Bevan, what was your take?
No, yeah, I agreed that America started well, and they exploited a lot of weaknesses within the Paraguay team. I don't think Paraguay turned up. It's almost like the occasion got the better of them. America did have their home fans behind them, and the stadium was rocking, and it seemed to help America, and it didn't seem to help Paraguay whatsoever. And I think that look, if Paraguay play like that, it's going to be tough for them to get out of the group.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll move on to the next game, Australia-Turkey, which ended up with a 2-0 win for Australia. And again, I would say it's a shock because everyone would have fancied Turkey to have at least scored a goal in that game. They did miss a good couple of chances, and there was a couple of goals ruled out for very tight VAR decisions. But how did you feel Australia looked and how they defended in that game?
Well, the monster said in it. He said about the goalie. Go on. Sorry.
No, I think I said it previously. He was a man possessed. I think someone definitely needs to check his meds because, you know, he was they were receiving shot after shot and he was just in the right position
reading everything
all the time. And it was a joy to see that, you know, even the underdogs in every situation, I mean, you know, other than Paraguay, I guess, they look like they're up for it. I mean, I would have wanted Turkey to score, but, you know, they've left there, conceded 2, and they're probably looking at each other thinking, where are we getting our goals from? Because we've got to face Paraguay next, and, you know, that could all be a ball draw. And I think I said it on the last pod, Leon, Bev. Even if you lose in the group stages, you need to at least get a goal, because I feel like sometimes that goal, it makes a massive difference in the end, when they're doing, you know, the count up. And in this, I don't know, is the goal difference still going to matter in the group stages, or is it only the disciplinary record for the teams? I can't quite remember.
It will still be goal difference and probably goals scored, but I think the key is the fact that I think there's a few third place teams that go through.
Right.
So it's their record against the other teams in other groups. So you finish third, you've got to have a good record as that third team in order to make sure that you can get through. So
it's 8 of them. It's 8 of the third place teams that go through.
Yeah.
So a win might see you through. A win and a draw, and you could be through. And
even a defeat, as long as you win one and draw one, you should be all right.
It should be all right, yeah. So Turkey are going to have to turn up against.
Yeah, I think whoever wins that game is going to be fine. But neither of those teams can afford. I don't think either of them can afford to draw. I think both teams need to get a win in that game because, you know, we've seen how Australia have set their stall out. They're basically going to play a low block and look to counter. One thing we do have to mention, obviously, we've spoken about Turkey's sort of missed opportunities in their approach, but we have to give credit to Australia and Story Iran Kunda with a very, very good goal to open the scoring for Australia. Not someone that, you know, you would say has been familiar to us all, but certainly the Australians will know all about him. But a brilliant finish, and it'll be interesting to see how he fares against some of the other opposition in the tournament. Moving on to Group C, we had Brazil take on Morocco, which you'd probably say was the first clash of two fairly heavyweight teams in this tournament. And you'd have to say Brazil slightly underwhelming and Morocco impressive as ever, especially defensively. Mons, what was your take on the 1-1 draw between the teams?
You put it in a nutshell. I think the little twist that I would say on it, because we have high expectations of Brazil, I feel like when they don't come out and score 3s and 4s, it almost automatically puts them in the bad performance kind of bracket. But in this instance, you're totally right. There weren't a great performance for the eye or anything else, really. The stats say that they took, you know, 6 shots and had 3 on target. But realistically, when you looked at the match, Morocco was running through the midfield and they really didn't have the legs to keep up with what Morocco was dealing with. I think they got a young man in the Moroccan midfield who was, if I'm not mistaken, playing for the under-21s in the France ranks not too long ago, and he decided that he was going to pick Morocco as his nation to play for in the World Cup. I think his name Boyendi, or I think that's how you pronounce it. Did I butcher that?
We're going to assume that you did.
Okay, fair.
And we just move on.
So, but yeah, his performance, start to finish, demonstrated how, as you coming into the big stage, you should be performing. And against a team like Brazil, you would argue that would probably be a little bit intimidating for most that have been watching football for all their years. He just looked very comfortable in there. Brazil had nothing more than Vinicius Jr. for me. I feel like he was their focal point. He was the only one that was going to provide them an opportunity to kind of get a goal, and he was working his socks off. I've not seen him run like that in the time that I've been watching him. But he was honestly, again, a man that has his country on his back. I think the question I'm going to ask is when and if Neymar becomes fit, how do they reorganize the team to fit him in? Because they will, but how will they?
He's not starting. He's definitely not starting this tournament. I think I saw a report before the tournament about Neymar being picked, and apparently I think the reason that he got selected was Carlo Ancelotti said that Neymar had to promise that he would be an impact player. So he was there as almost like a talisman, but not necessarily on the pitch. But to because he's so respected within that Brazil squad,
he'll build them up.
Yeah, his sheer presence will make them or inspire them to play as well as they can. So I think the idea is to bring him on to be an impact player because he's not fit. He hasn't been fit all season, to be honest with you. He's struggled with injury ever since he went to Saudi Arabia and come back. So I don't think they're going to need to find a way to fit him in. I think it's more about how Brazil where they can find the means to get more chances to score, because we know Morocco is great in defense. The fact that Brazil only has 6 shots with all of the possession that they had, they never really troubled with Morocco. And you saw a little bit of brilliance from Vinny Jr. was the reason that they managed to score. Other than that, there wasn't really too many other gilt-edged chances that you felt they would score from. Set pieces as per usual, which is the same for a lot of teams in this tournament. So
yeah. Well, Bono, I think Bono, Morocco's keeper, he done exactly what he done in the AFCON, which was just be very composed, controlled, and just have all the confidence in the world. He made 4 saves against Brazil, and, you know, he was good for it. I mean, he went down with injury, and I think I shouted out, I don't know if I put in one of the groups to say, boy, if he gets injured, Morocco got a problem. But they're very, very comfortable on the ball, very composed. They know they've got a way of playing. You know, Mazraoui looked great. Hakimi looked good. So for the most part,
Mazraoui looked great. I love it. I love it. You're able to do that at will. But yeah, go ahead.
You know what? If obviously it's Mont, so I can understand your reaction. But he really did do well because Rafinha didn't get a sniff in that game. So I will give him that.
No, I agree. He did. I agree that he did well, but it was his actual words that he used that he did great and Hakimi did good.
Hey, potato, man. But yeah, it was one of them matches where, you know, if I missed it, I probably wouldn't have been too bothered. But I'm glad I watched it because, you know, you get to see all these guys playing at the top level for their countries. I believe based on that performance, though, I think Morocco can go a little bit further.
Well, we did say that they were one of the underdogs to cause an upset, and they got to the last 4 in the last World Cup. So no reason why they can't do the same in this tournament, especially being one of the countries that are used to playing in warm conditions. So it will be interesting.
I say that Brazil got a lot of work to do. I don't know if you're going to see a midfield of Bruno Guimaraes and Paqueta with Casemiro in the next game, because they were too open. It was too easy.
It's not needed. It's simply not needed. You don't need those 3 type of players in the midfield. If let's be real,
it was a lot more composed and there was a lot less gaps when they brought in Fabinho.
Yeah,
he showed up things because the way that they were being harassed and harried by Morocco. Same time, the Morocco that turned up at AFCON, they say they're the Brazil of South Africa, and they did a lot more Brazil than Brazil did.
That's for sure.
There's a lot more, yeah.
Well, the other game in the group saw Scotland get a much long-awaited 1-0 win against, I guess, tournament debutants, Haiti, who, you know, for them, only losing 1-0 is actually a really, really good result. And they gave a fair effort to stay in that game. It wasn't just one-way traffic. John McGinn with the goal. Bev, what did you think of Haiti's performance, and how do you feel Scotland will fare considering who else they've got to play in that group?
Yeah, Haiti did shock me, really. They came out and they did show some fight. And I think that they were whiskers away from actually getting an equaliser. I think towards the end of the game, Scotland were a bit nervy, and I think when you haven't won a World Cup game for that long, there's bound to be a bit of nerves. But they were able to actually get it over the line and get the 3 points. It might sound crazy, but I feel like there might be a draw out of the last 2 remaining games for Scotland. I don't know if they're going to get a win, but that win has set them up right. But they may be able to get a draw out of either Brazil or Morocco.
Bev, I don't think you're wrong, because do you know what I've noticed over all the teams, there isn't anybody, and I was writing something today, and I was saying to myself, I've looked at every squad and that I believe has had like a decent performance, and there's no one player that I felt has been amazing. It's all been team related. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's almost like if you've got a good group, you will probably you will get a result, whatever that might look like in the next match. And that's what I feel Scotland have got. They've got a good group of players. They're playing together. They're all on the same wavelength. So yeah, you got people like McGinn and McTominay that will really kind of push for excellence. So yeah, anything's possible in that group, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't finish second, they get best third place.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either. Getting that win was vital for them. And as much as, they would have been fancied against the Haitians, there's no easy games at times. Like Germany's won today, but I don't think Curaçao will lose like that for the rest of the tournament. I don't think they'll have that sort of game in the other match they have to play. So we'll see how they fare and see out of that group who will come out on top. All right, well, we'll quickly move on because we'll run out of time. On to Group B, where co-host Canada got a 1-1 draw against Bosnia. No goals for Lamont's pick for top goal scorer in Jonathan
He's
David.
never living it down.
A goal from Larin instead. But what did you think of the game? Obviously disappointing for Canada to only get a draw, but Bosnia, no mugs. They knocked out Italy, didn't they, to qualify? So
Yeah, they did. I think that the thing is, Canada were the most threatening out of the 2 teams in attack. It's just that Canada are wasteful in attack, and the chances that they did have, if it wasn't, I think Lorraine had a great chance, and if it wasn't for a tackle from Kolasinac that makes it go onto the post, then they're 2-0 up. And this is just a game where I believe that Bosnia scored from against the run of play, and it was a defensive error really because Estaquio's moved off the post and he's allowed Kolasinac to flick the ball on. So I think that Canada should have got the draw. They should have got a draw. I don't think they should have been 1-0 down. It was against the run of play, and they had plenty of chances to get a goal. And if they don't, I think that's going to be their problem with scoring goals, because they were showing kind of glimpses. And Larin took his goal well. I think that, as I said, they was just a bit wasteful. Cool.
All right. Well, we'll move on to the next game in that group. Qatar getting a late equaliser against Switzerland. Switzerland will be disappointed. But looking at Group B now, that all the teams have drawn, it's now made that group wide open in the next. Well, each team has another couple of games, so it's wide open. What did you think of Qatar's performance or Switzerland's lack of cutting edge?
Well, let me just tell you this: 26 shots. 26 shots and 1 goal. 7 of the 26 were 7 of them were on target, and you only get 1 goal.
And that goal was a pen.
And they were lucky to get that too.
Very.
Because all of a sudden, and I don't know how, but apparently there was a power outage in the area which stopped them from being able to get the VAR lines up. Imagine.
I don't know if it was off though, because they were obviously saying it from the camera angle in the game. It looks like he's off, but there's no camera angle that you see where you're directly in line. to actually categorically say it wasn't offside. So I'm not sure, but the power outages has basically killed any
That-
chance of being able to check for sure.
It's scandalous though, bro. They should have just kept that quiet and just gone for the camera angle and just left it there. Do you know what I mean? But aside from that, I think Qatar, because Switzerland didn't take their chances, I'm almost happy Qatar got the equalizer, because that is just proof and another example of being 1-0 up and not taking advantage of the possession, the amount of chances on goal. There's not to take. Let me not take too much away from the Qatarian keeper, Abunada? He definitely had his work cut out for him today, because he had to make 5 key saves. A couple of those were 1-on-1, but he done it. And Qatar drew 1-1. Switzerland are probably looking at themselves thinking, how did we only draw that game? And if I'm not mistaken, I looked at the records, Leon, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is a record number of shots in a World Cup game, 26 from
Really?
Switzerland.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
the highest ever in a World Cup game.
Wow. And what's even crazier is that Qatar equalized when Switzerland went down to 10 men because Manuel Akanji had got injured. I think he done his groin, and they had no more substitution windows left because they'd used them all. So they couldn't even bring a sub on. So they were down to 10 men at the time when Qatar scored. But this is what happens if you don't finish your dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had a 2.4 XG, which is still quite bad considering how many shots they had.
Funny that on my screen it says 3.2
Shame.
expected goals, but still we're looking at two different apps, but it's not the point. The principle is they had 26 shots.
26 shots and they scored 1. Which,
do you know what I mean? At the highest level.
Pen.
You know, the thing is as well, there were moments in the first half where Qatar could have scored and actually given Switzerland a warning that this is possible to happen, and they didn't take heed of that.
Sure. Well, as we said, that group is wide open. All 4 teams on 1 point, so all to play for. Well, on to our last game, South Korea versus Czech Republic. And South Korea, probably one of the most impressive performances so far, especially in that second half. I think coming from a goal down to win 2-1 against Czech Republic. What was your take on the game, Bevan?
It's another game where a team scored from a set piece and they were against the run of play. I was kind of disappointed with how Czechia were playing, to be honest. You were used to seeing them a lot better than that. But South Korea are a world drilled outfit, and they have got some quality players, and they should have been ahead before they scored. The goal that they did score seemed like it was going wide, but I think it's Imbium. He scores and then gives the assist for the second goal. And that was what both of them were well taken, and they were well worth their 2-1 victory. And I think that they could have been ahead. And they go 2-1 up when they take Son off as well. So it shows that there's depth and quality in the squad.
Right, you Monts?
So realistically, I looked at that as a game of it was a game of 2 halves. But do you know how consistent South Korea were? They were very much the same in both halves. They were taking shots when they had the opportunity from close range or long range.
Mm-hmm.
They were their transition into a counter-attack was. They could see where the weaknesses were in Czechia, to be honest with you. They could see where the weaknesses were, and they were trying to take advantage of them. They'd done their homework, similar to Japan, to be quite honest with you. They'd done their homework on their opponent, and they said, you know what, we are going to take advantage of all their weak parts and see if we can get something out of it. And I feel like 2-1.
Didn't do them justice, to be honest.
It didn't reflect the game for me. Eye test, South Korea could have been away, like well away. Czechia only really look dangerous in set pieces, in my opinion. Like long throws, corners, that's when they really look like they might give a problem. But obviously they weren't clinical enough.
But I think that's a problem for South Korea though. If they're going to struggle from set pieces, that's where teams are going to attack them. And if you could defend and score set pieces, then you can be a problem.
Sure, for sure. Well, that rounds up our games for the World Cup so far. Jens, just a quick question. Who would you say has been your most impressive performance so far, whether that's a player or team? Who's impressed you the most just so far from the matches that we've seen?
As a team, I'm gonna stick with last team, South Korea. They did impress me a lot.
I'm going to go for Japan.
What about you, Leon?
So far, I think South Korea has impressed me the most. Just with the balance of play, the fact that they attack from so many different directions, and they seem really, really balanced. I was surprised at how good they look, to be honest with you. So I've been impressed with them so far. But yeah, again, just the first round of matches. Still a long, long way to go, and a lot more games to go. But no, please, please, please don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Please, please, please comment. What are your thoughts on the game so far? Who you feel like has impressed you, and who you think out of some of these matches, who you think may end up getting through to the knockout stage. But this is Armchair Pundits. Thank you for joining us. Until the next time, where we'll be reviewing more games, and hopefully we'll have a lot more goals and talking points. We'll see you then. Take care.